Welcome to another episode of 9 to 5 Mac Weekly, where March 23rd has finally come. I'm your host, Miles Somerville, and if you're a fan of good ideas, consider subscribing to the channel, because there's going to be a lot of Apple hardware videos coming your way pretty soon. But you all clicked on this video today because Apple 2021 event season has finally started, so let's dive in and talk about what we should expect to see from next week's spring-loaded event. So firstly, iPads, and specifically iPad Pros. It's been about a year since Apple refreshed the iPad Pro lineup, and while the current Pros are already rock-solid devices, there's always room to grow, and even more so, more money for Apple to make. So at this event, we should be expecting two new iPad Pro models, an 11-inch and 12.9-inch models, and generally speaking, the design is going to remain the same, so there will be no bezel-less displays or 2-inch camera bumps this time around. These iPads are supposed to be improving on a bunch of internal stuff, which includes a new M1 rivaling processor. The iPad Pro is expected to sport Apple's A14X chip, which is said to be based on Apple's M1 processor, the chip that literally has pulled the rug from under the entire computer industry, the chip that is outclassing every other ARM-based processor out there. Yes, that chip is going to be put in the new iPad Pros, and with this you can expect even better performance, better battery life, better everything, because that's what you should expect from a new iPad Pro at this point. We've known about this A14X processor for nearly a month now, because a while back, some iOS code leaked the existence of the processor, but we pretty much already knew the next iPad Pros would feature something of this power level. But with that being said, how do you feel about the iPad Pro getting these processor upgrades? Because these will still be iOS-powered machines with all the same general limitations that you have on an iPhone. So does having all this extra power really mean that much for the iPad Pros at this point? We've heard on and off rumors and mostly fan theories about Final Cut and Logic for iPad for years now, but as of now, we still don't have anything like that. I think it's fantastic that this thin slab of a tablet still has all this power, but if you don't have the software to match, then how does this iPad matter versus the previous generation, you know? Either way though, the new Pros are going to be extremely capable devices, and hopefully you'll be able to notice the difference in speed without looking for it. The next thing we should expect from these iPad Pros is Thunderbolt Connectivity. In a report from Bloomberg that came out weeks ago, Apple's apparently implementing full Thunderbolt support into the new Pros, allowing you to connect the Pro to more devices like extra external displays, external storage devices, and get a generally speaking much higher throughput speed than what you get on the current Type-C iPads. And I think this makes perfect sense on Apple's part. I think all the other iPad models will inevitably get USB-C, but saving Thunderbolt specifically for the iPad Pros is a good way to differentiate the models. I just hope now with the inclusion of Thunderbolt support, we can finally output the displays in 16:9 instead of what we have now. And these iPad Pros will use the same Thunderbolt controller found on the M1 Max, which just makes me think about how easy it'd be for someone to port macOS onto the iPad Pro, since it's essentially using the same hardware as the current M1 Max. I'll be waiting for that YouTube video to pop up on my feed. Now, the next and likely most noticeable change to the new iPad Pros will be the inclusion of a mini LED display. Mini LED technology is better than traditional LED displays in the sense that it's backlit by a bunch of mini LEDs as opposed to a singular LED backlight. This means that you're not only getting improved brightness figures, but better contrast levels as well. But according to a few different sources, the 12.9-inch is supposed to be getting this feature exclusively, meaning the 11-inch will retain the same LCD display, and this is likely due to display shortages based on what we've heard. But what if it's not? What if Apple's decided to give the more expensive iPad some exclusive features just to help better justify the price point? If this mini LED model's got double the brightness of the previous version or something like that, then I think it'll probably be marketed quite thoroughly. But as of now, we don't have any technical specification leaks on the display, so we'll just have to hold tight until next week to see what this display has to offer. Besides that, we're hearing that the new iPad Pros will come with improved cameras, but we don't have much info outside of that. We do know that the number of lenses on the iPad Pro will be the same. We'll still have 2 camera lenses, so it's likely that they're simply updating the iPad Pro's cameras to match the current iPhone 12s, which is great news for all of my iPad videographers out there. What about color options though? We haven't heard any concrete rumors about any new or different color options for these iPads, so it's likely that they'll still be offered in the same silver and space gray colorways. But just the other day, Love to Dream tweeted another one of his infamous cryptic acronyms, and many people are speculating that this has something to do with a new iPad color. But If you're asking me, I think the spring colors on the invite picture could be a potential indication of new Apple Pencils with different color options. Last month, we had an image leak of what could be a new Apple Pencil on the way. The image shows off a pencil of some sort with a glossy finish, meaning that Apple could be reverting back to the glossy finish for this new Apple Pencil. But there isn't much to support this new leak, but I personally think it makes sense for Apple to release a new version. The Apple Pencil 2 is coming up on being 3 years old, and so I think that's enough time for Apple to release a new model. And why not release a new model with some spicy color options? I think doing that has the potential to slightly boost pencil sales, but if none of that ends up being true and we just get a new iPad color, I think it would have to be a green or gold of some kind. I couldn't really see it being anything else, but we'll just have to wait and see next week. And that's pretty much everything we know and don't know about the new iPad Pros. Mark says they can't squeak out an extra 0.1 on the 12.9. Those bezels are dang thick too. I mean, I don't think many people are complaining, honestly, and personally, I don't think the bezels on the current iPad Pro are really that thick. Could they be thinner? Yes, potentially, but would it be that big of a difference? Probably not. Daryl Fortney says, new Mini, but Pro, please. Stop handicapping the Mini. Yes, everyone wants a new and extremely powerful iPad Mini, and I think we will get there. Eventually, there will be an iPad Mini with an iPad Pro-esque design or a slim bezel, full screen looking iPad Mini. We're gonna get there eventually, but I just don't think it's at this event. In fact, we have seen some dummy models floating around of what this new iPad Mini 6 could look like, and it pretty much looks the same as the current model design-wise, so yeah, might be a while before we get a refresh. Yet, they can't upgrade the iPhone port from Lightning. Yeah, so I mean, that's obviously intentional. They can upgrade the iPhone port to pretty much whatever they want. They could throw in micro USB if they wanted to, but they're doing what's gonna make them the most money. And right now, what makes Apple the most money is utilizing Lightning on the iPhone. So as far as I know, and as far as I can tell, Lightning is here to stay until the iPhone goes portless. So just cozy up. Obsidian71 says, called it. The whole reason the iPad Pro moved to USB-C was to prepare for a future Thunderbolt upgrade. Once Apple delivered the M1 Max with Thunderbolt, that meant that they have a Thunderbolt bridge chip for ARM, and that means they leverage it easily in the iPad as well. I like the Kensington dock that was announced this week, but I think it's obvious that when the iPad Pro goes to Thunderbolt, everyone who's making Thunderbolt docks will be making iPad Pro docks, Belkin, CalDigit, etc. Yes, I think this is going to be like all the companies who make Thunderbolt accessories are just licking their chops right now, ready to just throw out more $100 docking stations and stuff like that. I'm sure they're ready for it. But yes, I do agree, this is a smart move moving the iPad to Thunderbolt, and I think it's a great way to differentiate, like I said, the Pro models and the standard iPad models like the Air, the Mini, and the regular iPad, which will all eventually just have standard Type-C. But we also haven't seen this new iPad Pro in the flesh, so I'm really hoping that they don't handicap the Thunderbolt connectivity in any way. I want the same full throughput that you're getting on the M1 Max, 2000 megabits read and write for SSDs and stuff like that, multiple external displays. I want all that coming out of this iPad Pro. I hope they finally offer true full screen support for external displays. And yes, that's probably my #1 feature wish list as far as an iPad Pro upgrade. That's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to with new iPads, full screen support on external displays, because the fact that we don't have that now is really, really silly. So the iPad Pro is the only thing we know for sure that's going to be revealed next week at the event, but Apple's of course got a bunch of other products in the pipeline, so let's just go over everything else that Apple's working on and whether we should expect to see it next week or not. Firstly, AirPods. We got a bunch of AirPods 3 and Pro 2 leaks at the very beginning of the year, which made us think that we were really close to seeing them be revealed, but that didn't happen, and we got a bunch of reports saying that we wouldn't see them until later in the year. And I think that still holds true for AirPods Pro 2. I personally just don't think we'll see those for a little while longer, but I think this spring or summer would be a perfect opportunity for Apple to drop the AirPods 3. And if AirPods 3 are already ready to go, I think it is possible that we could see them next week, and then the Pro 2s will get their own release date later on. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's where we're at with AirPods at this point. And then there's the new Apple Silicon Macs. All we've got at this point is an entry-level 13-inch Pro, a MacBook Air, and a Mac Mini. So that leaves the higher-end MacBook Pros, the 14, 16-inch, the iMacs, the 21 and 27-inch, and then the Mac Pro. We're obviously not getting a new Mac Pro next week, and I feel very strongly that we won't get any other new Macs at this event either. If anything, I think we could potentially see the new MacBook Pros, but I firstly don't think that the next generation of Apple Silicon is ready, especially with all the global chip shortages, and I also just can't see Apple shoehorning that into an iPad Pro event. I think that's just a bit too much for one event. But what do you guys think? Are you hoping for a new Mac next week? Let us know in the comments below. And then, of course, there's AirTags, Apple's long-rumored tile tracker competitor. And all I have to say about this product at this point is that if we don't see it next week, then I don't know when, because apparently it's been ready to go for ages now. So hopefully those will finally just make an appearance next week so we can stop talking about them in rumor form. I just want to review them and move on with my life. But that's about it for this one, guys. Get your wallets ready because next week's going to be very, very expensive. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and if you haven't, hit that notification bell icon so that you're notified as soon as a new video goes live, because as soon as the event's confirmed, we're going to give you a breakdown, all of the details, everything that goes down. We're going to cover it. So subscribe, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.